The morning after my wedding, I found a note slipped under the door that read, "Your marriage is a joke. Ask him about Tuesday nights." It was from our neighbor, the same woman who'd told us she wasn't well enough to attend. My heart sank. I confronted my husband. He denied everything. But when I checked the Ring camera, I saw her entering our house 2 nights before the wedding. With a key. The key I thought I'd lost. And what she left on our kitchen counter made me question everything. I got married on a Saturday. It was hot as hell in Tucson that day. The kind of dry heat that makes the sky look like it's cracking. But inside the small venue off Speedway Boulevard, everything felt perfect. Reed stood there with his hand in mine, saying all the right words in front of the people we loved. I believed every damn thing he said. Sunday morning, everything changed. We hadn't gone on a honeymoon. Reed said money was tight. I agreed. We'd saved for this wedding on our own. No help from our families. I respected that. We figured we'd do a weekend in Sedona later. He got up early that morning. Said he was going to get donuts and coffee before his parents came by for brunch. "I'll be back in 30, he said, kissing my head. "You sleep in, Mrs. Garvey." I smiled. Then he left. 15 minutes later, I opened the front door to get some air. That's when I saw the envelope. No postage. Just slid under the door like someone was sneaking it in during the night. Inside, a plain sheet of paper, typed in bold black font, "Your marriage is a joke. Ask him about Tuesday nights." No name. No greeting. Just that. I stared at it for a full minute. My brain couldn't catch up. Then I remembered something weird. Dana. Dana lives directly across the street from us. Older woman. Probably in her late 50s. Long white hair, always wears slippers, even outside. She's on oxygen, drags the tank with her wherever she goes. Says she has a long list of health issues. I used to take her soup when she was too tired to cook. She used to tell me I was too good for these desert men. I always laughed it off. She told us she couldn't come to the wedding. Said she wasn't feeling strong enough. I felt bad but understood. That paper, it looked like the same thick stationery she used when she sent us a card last Christmas. And Tuesday nights? What did that mean? I called Reed. My hand shook when I dialed. He answered on the second ring. "Hey, you okay?" I read the note to him, word for word. He was silent for maybe 2 seconds too long. Then, "That's crazy. Somebody's messing with you. Probably some psycho. Dana's sick, remember? She doesn't leave her house. Then how'd this get here? She probably had it dropped off. Or hell, maybe it wasn't even her." His voice was calm. Too calm. Like this wasn't the first time he had to lie about something. I hung up after telling him I needed to lie down. I sat at the kitchen table for over an hour. Thinking, replaying every little moment from the past few months. Reed had been going out on Tuesday nights, now that I thought about it. Always with the guys or running a job late. I hadn't thought much of it. He worked in HVAC. Long hours were normal. But my gut said something was wrong. That's when I remembered the camera. Reed had installed a Ring doorbell cam back in October, after someone stole a package of vitamins I ordered. He said we needed to keep an eye on things, especially at night. He never deleted the videos. He probably forgot they saved everything. I logged in. The feed loaded slow, like it knew what I was about to see. Tuesday, 11:46 p.m. Dana, walking up to our door. No knocking. No hesitation. She pulled a key from her pocket. My key. The one I thought I lost back in February. She went inside like she lived there. I paused the video. My stomach turned. My hands were sweating. I scrubbed ahead on the feed. Reed appeared in the hallway 2 minutes later. Shirtless. Hair messy. He walked straight to her and put his arm around her back like he was guiding her. They walked out of frame together. Toward our bedroom. I couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. I thought about all the times he said he was working late, or too tired for sex, or forgot to bring me flowers because money's tight. He was sleeping with her. But why her? Why Dana? She's old enough to be his mother. She's sick. I don't mean that cruelly, I mean it factually. I've seen her hooked up to machines. She can barely walk half the time. That's when I realized it wasn't about love or sex. It was about control. I went back to the footage, kept scrubbing forward. 1:07 a.m. Dana leaves. But before she goes, she places something on the kitchen counter. I zoomed in. It was my prescription bottle. I ran to the cabinet where I keep my pills. The bottle was gone. I take medication for anxiety. Reed knows that. I keep them locked in the medicine drawer. Or I thought I did. They'd been messing with my pills. Or at the very least, using them as some sort of signal. A warning. A threat. My heart was pounding so loud I could hear it in my ears. That was when I decided I wasn't going to cry. I wasn't going to scream. I was going to figure out exactly what they'd done. And then I was going to make them both regret it. The next morning, I called in sick to work. I told Reed I just needed time to rest. That wedding stress had caught up to me. He nodded, kissed my forehead, and left with his stupid gym bag like nothing had happened. The second he was gone, I went back to the footage. This time, I checked every Tuesday for the last 2 months. She came over 5 times. Always after 11 p.m. Always leaving just before 1 a.m. Once, Reed even walked her out, kissed her on the cheek, and looked around before she crossed the street. I started digging through the closet, looking for the little safe where I kept personal stuff. Photos, journals, backup flash drives. It was locked. Reed had bought it for me after I had a bad panic attack last year and said I needed a private place to feel in control. I grabbed a screwdriver and cracked it open. Everything was there, except the flash drive. I'd kept a flash drive with old therapy notes, my medication history, and copies of private journal entries from back when I was struggling. Some of it was really personal. Things I never said out loud. Things about trauma I went through when I was younger. I know I didn't take it out. That flash drive was gone. I walked to Dana's house. I didn't even knock. I stood outside until she opened the door. She looked like hell. Hair greasy, robe stained, tank half full. "Did you like the wedding?" I asked. She blinked like she didn't understand. "I know you were inside my house Tuesday night." Her lips twitched. I saw the camera footage. She stepped outside and pulled the door behind her. Then she whispered, "He told me you were dangerous. That you hurt yourself when he tried to leave. That you scream and break things." I stared at her. I started. "He said you stole his money. That you put pills in his drinks. That he only stayed with you out of guilt." I was shaking. "Do you really believe that?" I asked. She looked at me with this dead expression. "I believed him because I wanted to, because he made me feel needed. You have a key to my house. He gave it to me. And you thought that was normal?" She started crying. "I thought he loved me." I turned and walked away before I said something I'd regret. Back inside, I started going through Reed's things. I pulled his laptop, but it was password protected. Same with his phone. So I took it with me to the Verizon store. I told the guy behind the counter I was the wife, and I needed help backing up my husband's device. He looked nervous, but I played it calm. I paid for the data transfer. While it was loading, I saw messages from Dana. Dozens. Long ones. Detailed. Personal. Obsessive. But then I saw another name. Carla, different number. Younger language. Emojis. Photos. A few nudes. My blood went cold. Dana wasn't the only one. There was another woman. And this one wasn't confused or old. This one was in her 20s. The messages dated back almost a year. One line stood out. "Your wife seems nice. You sure she's okay with us still hooking up?" His reply? "She doesn't get a say." I left the Verizon store with the printout of the messages. When I got home, Reed was on the couch, watching a game. "Hey babe, how you feeling?" I dropped the papers in his lap. He looked down, flipped through a few, and then looked at me like I'd just caught him stealing cash from a church. We should talk, he said. I sat down. You're cheating on me. With Dana. With someone named Carla. You lied about everything. He took a deep breath, tried to grab my hand. I pulled away. I did what I had to do, he said. You've been unstable for a long time. There it was. He was going to gaslight me. He stood up, paced the room. You stopped being fun. You stopped taking care of yourself. I worked all day and came home to stress. Dana, she listened. Carla made me feel young. I needed something. I said nothing. I stared at him until he got uncomfortable. Then I walked to the kitchen, pulled my purse, and left. I didn't go to a hotel. I went to Dana's house. She opened the door, surprised. You still have that key? I asked. She nodded. Good. You're going to help me ruin him. Dana looked at me like I'd lost it. Maybe I had. I didn't care. I want every message he sent you. Every voicemail. Anything you've got, I said. You want revenge or not? She hesitated. I don't want to hurt you. You already did. She didn't argue. Dana brought out an old phone from a drawer. He bought me this. Said it was just for us. The messages were all there. He wasn't sweet with her. Not even romantic. It was transactional. Gross. Some of the texts were even worse than I expected. Leave your tank in the front room. You move better without it. My wife's getting suspicious. Don't say anything stupid if she shows up. You're not dying anytime soon. Quit using that to guilt me. He used her. Lied to her. Slept with her. Mocked her. And somehow convinced her to feel grateful for it. She handed me the phone. You can have it. I don't want it anymore. I copied everything. Messages. Call logs. Photos. Then Dana said something that stopped me cold. You know he asked me for a loan, right? What? 10 grand. Said you two were behind on the mortgage. I wired it to him. He never told me. She nodded. That's what I thought. I checked our mortgage account when I got home. We weren't behind. Not even close. He pocketed her money. $10,000. From a sick woman on oxygen. I called the bank next. I had power on the account as his spouse now. I told them I suspected fraud and needed to see all large deposits from the past few months. That's when I saw it. The money didn't go to bills. He moved it to a separate savings account. One I didn't know existed. Under his name only. And he'd been making transfers to someone named C. Dorsey. I stared at the name. Carla Dorsey. He was sending her money too. I drove straight to Carla's address. I found it from a shipping confirmation in one of his texts. A little duplex on the other side of town near the university. She answered wearing a crop top and holding a baby. My stomach dropped. I'm Holly, Reed's wife. Her face drained. You knew? I asked. I thought he was divorced. He said you were crazy, that you wouldn't sign the papers. He told me you were stalking him. And the baby? She looked away. It's his. I didn't want to tell him. But he kept sending money. I turned around and walked away before I did something I couldn't take back. Back home, Reed was in the shower. I went to the garage. Found the safe he kept locked. He'd always said it was for important work stuff. I smashed the keypad with a hammer. Inside, fake invoices, prepaid debit cards, a burner phone, and a thumb drive labeled just in case. I plugged it into my laptop. There were folders, photos, videos, recordings. But what made my blood run cold were the documents. They were PDFs of my medical records, therapy notes, prescription histories, things I had never given him. He had compiled everything, highlighted parts, added notes in red text, pattern of emotional instability, documented history of panic attacks. Refused hospitalization in 2019. It read like a damn case file. Then I found a draft of something called Emergency Declaration. It was a letter. meant for a court, saying I was unfit to make decisions, citing erratic behavior, possible self-harm, and danger to herself or others. Signed. Notarized. Dated 2 days before the wedding. He'd been planning to have me committed. After the honeymoon, I stared at that notarized letter for a long time. He was going to put me in a facility. Strip away my rights. Probably take the house. My savings. Maybe even my name. All of this after the wedding, after I was legally tied to him. And for what? Money? Control? Maybe he thought I'd just break, and he'd get to live out some sick fantasy of being the poor man who took care of his crazy wife while cheating and stealing in the shadows. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I made a plan. The next day, I went to a lawyer. A woman named Rachel with gray roots and tired eyes. She read the files I brought and asked me one question. You want to destroy him or just walk away safe? Both, I said. She smiled. Then we need to be smart. That week, I opened my own bank account. Transferred every cent I legally could from our shared one. I filed a restraining order based on emotional abuse, financial fraud, and invasion of privacy. Dana's messages helped. So did Carla's. I filed for annulment on the grounds of fraud and coercion. I also filed a police report about the hidden documents and unauthorized access to my medical records. That hit harder than I expected. The detective told me calmly, this crosses into criminal territory. They launched a formal investigation. When I served him the papers, he lost it. He screamed, shoved a chair, said I was ruining his life. I just stared at him. You almost had me locked away. You lied to everyone. You used an old woman and a college girl. And you thought I'd never figure it out. He tried to talk his way out of it again. Said Dana was the one who made the plan. That I was unstable. That Carla seduced him. I recorded every word. Then I played him the audio of Dana admitting he asked her for money. He went pale. I walked out that door and never came back. 2 weeks later, I got a call from Dana. Thought you should know. The cops came by. They had a warrant. They'd found enough to charge him. Fraud, identity theft, coercion. He'd be facing multiple counts if it stuck, especially with the money trail. Carla called me next. She said Reed hadn't contacted her in days. She wanted nothing to do with him anymore. She also agreed to testify if needed. The house went up for sale. I made sure my name was cleared from all debts. His secret accounts were frozen. His lies all documented. I did one last thing. I mailed Reed a copy of his own fake emergency declaration with a note that said, "Funny how the crazy one was you all along." 6 months later, he was in court. Dana sat behind me. Carla showed up with the baby. Reed looked like a ghost of himself, hollow, panicked, shaking. He pled guilty to financial fraud and coercion. Got 2 years in county with mandatory psych evaluations. The judge read my statement out loud. Every word. I said, you almost convinced me I was the problem. You almost won. But in the end, you taught me that surviving isn't enough. Sometimes you have to fight back. The courtroom was quiet after that. Dana cried. Carla didn't look at him once. And me? I walked out of there free. Not healed. Not yet. But free. And I'll never ignore my gut again. Not ever.